Good day. We are the Group 3 from Bachelor of Industrial Technology program of Marikina Polytechnic College. This is the table that will be used for project scheduling using the critical path method, also known as CPM. The first column determines all the activities that are needed for the project. The second column describes all the titles of each activity that should be completed. The third column determines all the predecessors of each activity. Predecessors are the activities that should be accomplished before moving into the next activity. The fourth column is the time estimation of each activity to be completed. Specifically, these are the working days of each activity to be completed. This table represents all the data measured using the critical path method. But before telling all these numbers, we should understand all the methods and formula used to calculate all this data. At the bottom left, we can see the formula in calculating the early start, late start, and the slack of each activity. The formula used in getting the early start is by adding the early start and the time. The next formula is how to get the late start. By subtracting the late finish and the time, you can get the late start of the activity. The last formula explains how to get the slack of an activity. In finding the slack, we can use two different formulas that work similarly. The first is to subtract the late start from the early start, and the second is to subtract the late finish from the early finish. Let's proceed to the table. In the first column are the activities that needed to be accomplished for the project. The second column are the early start of each activities. The number indicates the days of an activity that may use for starting early. The third column represents the early finish of the activities. Also, the number indicates the days of an activity that may have accomplished the activity in these earlier days. The fourth column represents all the late start of the activities. The days that are indicated are the only days that an activity may be allowed to start on this latest day. The fifth column represents all the late finish that indicates the only time or date that an activity should accomplish the objectives. The sixth column represents the slack of each activity. The slack is the time or days that are given to allow an activity to exceed its expected time of accomplishment. The last column represents the critical value of all the activities. The critical value determines if the activity is a crucial part of a project that either allows it to have a slack value or not. And at the bottom right, there's a table indicating the format of each activity that will be presented on the diagram used in the critical path method.
This is the diagram used in the critical path method to determine the critical value of each activity that we have presented in our previous tables. The starting activities are site clearing, which has an estimated time of 2 days, an early start of day 0, a late start of day 0, an early finish of day 2, and a late finish of day 2. This activity was critical because it doesn't have any slack to make it an exceedingly long time for completion. The next process of the project is the foundation, which has an estimated time of 4 days, an early start of day 2, a late start of day 2, an early finish of day 6, and a late finish of day 6. This activity was critical because it doesn't have any slack to make it an exceedingly long time for completion. Third process of the project is the block laying, which is an estimated time of 10 days, an early start of day 6, a late start of day 6, an early finish of day 16, and a late finish of day 16. This activity was critical because it doesn't have any slack to make it an exceedingly long time of completion. The fourth process of the project is separated into 3 activities, which is the roofing, plumbing, and the ceiling. First, the roofing, which has an estimated time of 6 days, an early start of day 16, a late start of day 20, and an early finish of day 22, and a late finish of day 26. The activity was not critical for having a slack of 4 days. The plumbing, which has an estimated time of 4 days, an early start of day 16, a late start of day 20, an early finish of day 22, and a late finish of day 26. This activity was critical because it doesn't have any slack to make it an exceedingly long time for completion. Next, the ceiling, which has an estimated time of 7 days, an early start of day 16, a late start of day 18, an early finish of day 23, and a late finish of day 25. The activity was not critical for having a slack of 2 days. Next is the plastering. It should be accomplished next, having an estimated time of 7 days, an early start of day 22, and a late start of day 26, an early finish of day 29, and a late finish of day 33. The activity was not critical for having a slack of 4 days. After the plumbing activity, the electrical works should be accomplished. Estimated time of 5 days, an early start of day 20, a late start of day 20, an early finish of day 25, and a late finish of day 25. This activity was critical because it doesn't have any slack. Next, after the plastering, the electrical works was completed. The next step is fixing doors and windows. It should be accomplished having an estimated time of 9 days, an early start of day 29, a late start of day 33, an early finish of day 38, and a late finish of day 42. The activity was not critical because it has a 4-day slack. After the ceiling and the electrical works, the flooring should be next, having an estimated time of 8 days, an early start of day 25, a late start of day 25, and an early finish of day 33, a late finish of day 33. This activity was not critical because it doesn't have any slack. Next is the completion of the flooring. There are 2 separated activities that should be accomplished. Those are the interior fixtures and the exterior fixtures. First, the interior fixtures, which has an estimated time of 4 days, an early start of day 33, a late start of day 34, an early finish of day 37, and a late finish of day 38. The activity was not critical for having a slack of 1 day. Next is the exterior fixture, which has an estimated time of 5 days, an early start of day 33, a late start of day 33, an early finish of day 38, and a late finish of day 38. This activity was not critical because it doesn't have any slack. Next, after completing both the interior and the exterior fixtures, the landscaping should be accomplished next, having an estimated time of 2 days, an early start of day 38, a late start of day 38, an early finish of day 44, and a late finish of day 44. This activity doesn't have any slack. On the other hand, while the landscaping is on the process, the painting should be accomplished also, having an estimated time of 2 days, an early start of day 38, a late start of day 42, and an early finish of day 40, a late finish of day 44. This was not critical for having a slack of 4 days. Overall, the project should be accomplished in 44 days in total, which some factors given for slack for considering their non-critical activities and others that are critical to be completed in a given number of days. Again, we are the Group 3 of BIT 4C. Thank you for listening.